I got a report for you.
Tell me.
You want to hear a report before we go to the phones?
Would love to.
Mary Kay Cabot.
MKC.
Cleveland. Deshaun Watson could miss multiple more games.
I told you.
With a, listen to this. Ready for it?
Hurt feelings?
Listen to this injury. This is when you know people are like, well, I have a, it's like when you go to the doctor and you're like, Doc, when I go like this, it does a little clicking thing. And the doc's like, what is that? I don't know even know what to tell. What are you saying?
Pay the copay and go home.
Deshaun Watson could miss multiple more games with a strain-like deep contusion in his rotator cuff.
It's not a contusion.
It's not. It's a strain-like deep contusion.
Yeah.
In the rotator cuff.
Do we need an emergency Pandia?
We don't.
Okay.
Because Deshaun does not play for the 49ers, and after Sunday, we really don't care anymore, to be honest with you. But they also say they will not play him until he can throw normally and pain-free.
Right.
So,
okay.
No Deshaun Watson for a little while.
Right. And, man, I'm going to refer you to what I said yesterday or maybe the day before, that I don't think that he wants to play football. And I'm not saying that he is soft or faking it or any other way, because I am not Deshaun Watson and I do not live inside his shoulder. But when you have a strain-like contusion in your shoulder, normally when you are a player in the National Football League and that is your diagnoses, most of them would play, I would imagine. I don't remember. Maybe. I don't remember a lot of times where a strain-like contusion, which is basically he's got a bruise. It's probably a really bad Charlie horse.
It's like a bruise.
Right. Like a bruisey. Hey.
But I mean, look, it's in his shoulder.
Hurts for the very first time.
You know what I mean? Like if you break a finger, I mean, if you're Ronnie Lott, you cut the finger off. If you're a quarterback, you can't play. You know what I mean? Because So it's his shoulder. I'm not trying to make I don't know what it feels like. I don't know what the hell he's got. I just know that it's weird, and it's yet another example of quarterback finances. We could do, and maybe we should, do an entire show, a week of shows, a podcast on this topic based on what's happening here in San Francisco right now. The 49ers are Super Bowl favorites. They pay their quarterback $870,000.
Right.
The Browns can't even get their quarterback to play. He's making $230 million guaranteed. The Broncos have paid their quarterback almost $200 million guaranteed, and he is playing, and they don't want him to. The Arizona Cardinals would like to maybe move on at the quarterback position.
Yeah, they would.
Like moments after signing their guy to $180 million guaranteed dollars. Like, it's crazy. Look at the Cowboys. Look at Dak Prescott. Look at Daniel Jones in New York. There are plenty of teams who went and paid the quarterback, and they are not just regretting it, they're stuck. They're stuck for years to come because of it.
Well, Deshaun Watson is only making $1.08 million this year. Now, he's got a signing bonus of 9, a restructure of 9, a cap hit of 19. The dead cap, as we sit right now, $220 million.
Unbelievable.
$220 million. And that's the DC. That's the dead cap.
Yep.
And, I mean, that's if they decide that this contusion is too deep, if the strain-like bruise is so bad that he can't possibly go on and they want to move on, they got to pay him $220 large to say adios.
Yeah, so they won't.
Right.
But it's interesting. Look at the quarterback finances around the league, and that is another thing that maybe we haven't talked about with Brock Purdy. Not just that the 49ers lucked into this situation financially, striking gold, or that they need to win a Super Bowl in the next 3 years because the price is about to go up. But the beauty of this is how quickly Brock became the quarterback in year one of his cheap 4-year deal. The reason that's important is it will allow the 49ers, not as if they need more convincing, but if you do want to bring up other players who popped early and then sort of became just kind of like, okay. Grandy threw us a really interesting tidbit out of The Athletic comparing Brock Purdy's start to Dak Prescott's start of his career. And it's actually stunning, the similarities. And so think about that. Like, what if Brock is Dak? Would you want to pay him $50 million? And I know while most fans right now would be like, he's not Dak. He's not that at all. We saw the two of them head-to-head. Dak Prescott's first 10 starts, 9-0. Brock, 10-0. Completion percentage, 68-70. Yards per attempt, 8.4, 9.1. Touchdown to interception ratio, Brock, 20-2. Dak, 17-2. Like, Brock's a little bit better in all of these, but it is a cautionary tale of like, well, is this going to have some sort of a downturn in years to come? Well, the beauty is the 49ers get to see a bunch more football games and results before anybody even has to think about this. You got the rest of this season and all next season too before you're even allowed to think about this,
right?
Which is a real gift for the team.
It's a gift, but it also could be a curse in terms of Dak Prescott. And you look at what Dak did in his early days. He goes 13-3 as a rookie, and he's Rookie of the Year. And like you mentioned, 23 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Then he has 2 really good years, maybe not the same level of elite years, although year 3 he was a Pro Bowler. And then year 4, he was good again. He goes 8-8. He played every single game his first 4 years. And then Dallas was in a spot where they weren't totally sold, so they gave him the franchise tag. So then Dak comes back and gets a franchise tag for 31.4 in that 5th year, and he comes out and he gets hurt.
Gets hurt badly.
And so he plays 5 games in 2020, and he was playing, about the same, maybe a little bit worse. And then Dallas is in a spot where either you believe in Dak and you give him the money and you keep him, or you move on. And I'm not saying that Brock Purdy is going to be that same guy, but he's off to the same start that Dak was off to. So the idea that a quarterback can't regress, I think a lot of times we miss out on the reality of what can happen with a quarterback. Brock is amazing, and Dak, for whatever reason, he peaked early and then he got hurt, and he's never been the same quarterback.
Well, and that's something that can happen to any player. Like, it could also be because of major injury, and you come back and you're not the same. Like, absolutely. Jose in San Jose is with us here on Willard and Dibs. Hey, Jose, thanks for calling.
Oh, thanks for taking my call. Long-time listener, first-time caller to the show.
Thanks.
You guys just said something very important, and nice drop. You said that Dak got hurt. We all remember that, and he's never quite been the same. Purdy got hurt, and, it's to that throwing arm, and he's made this remarkable, I want to call it adaptation, but continued to be an amazing quarterback so far. So, I don't know. There's just something special about this kid that we can't really quite pinpoint. We have a lot of different things we can look at, but I don't know. Maybe it's just my delusional thinking that the shoe's not going to fall. But I feel something different with Brock Purdy. I'll just say that. So to answer your first question about, or earlier you're talking about Shannon Sharp. I don't know what he's smoking, and I love Uncle Shanny. Don't get me wrong, but like, you can't just put any Joe Schmo in this offense. It's very complicated. You have to be very smart. And the thing that Brock does better that I've seen compared to anybody else before him, in the Shanahan system, is just making those quick reads and being able to adjust and find, the right play. And I don't know, it feels like he hits it at least 80-90% of the time. And then to go back and to end my call on the second part of which team or, who am I afraid of?
Yeah, who scares you, Jose?
Let me go back to 10 years ago. And I'll answer that question with the question, who's got it better than us? Nobody. And I'm out.
That's a nice uptick,
nice
too.
job, Jose.
It's a great tick on the way out, Jose. Thank you. Very good with the Harbaugh callback.
I think the Niners can beat anybody, obviously, but the only team right now that I see that I think can really go toe-to-toe and get into an honest-to-goodness matchup with the 49ers is the Philadelphia Eagles. That's all. Like, I'm not saying Detroit can give you a game, Buffalo, Kansas City, Jacksonville, whatever. These teams could all give you a game. Sure, Miami, they could all give you a game. But to me, there's matchup issues that are presented with all of those teams that the 49ers can exploit at a high level except for Philadelphia. Philadelphia is the team that has everything, if not more, that the 49ers have in the trenches. And the trenches are what creates opportunity for everybody else. The defensive line creates opportunities for defensive backs to make a pick. The offensive line creates opportunities for a quarterback to have time, find open receivers, open holes for running backs, all of that stuff. And the Eagles are elite on the lines. I think the 49ers are too. And, you take a look at a team like Miami, for example. Oh, could Miami outscore the Niners? No, the Niners would completely big brother the Dolphins. They would shove them around. The Dolphins' defense would not stop the Niners not one time, not once. We've already seen it. I know it was a little bit different. It was Brock's first ever game, but we watched it. Miami scored a touchdown on the first play of the game and then pretty much wasn't able to do anything the rest of the way, and the Niners put up a 33 spot. Like, the 49ers, to me, if the game was this weekend, there's only one team that can stay on the field with them, and it's potentially the Philadelphia Eagles.
And the matchup to me is really interesting when you look at how these two teams both go about it. They are number 2 and number 3 in the league in rushing defense. Cleveland's number 1. So I think you're going to get a look this weekend at just how the Niners O-line can do against a team that is very good against the run, and that's going to be the Cleveland Browns at home. You got McCaffrey going up against a great run defense, and the Niners offensive line. Are they going to be able to run their zone scheme and be able to use the pre-snap motion and all of the shifting and all of the tomfoolery that Shanahan likes to employ? Can they keep Cleveland off balance? Can Brock Purdy beat them on early downs with his arm and, put them in short yardage so that they can run the ball? I do think that this is a good way to look at how the Niners will do against Philadelphia in terms of running the football, because Cleveland's run defense is very good. And the big difference between Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons is you can't run at Myles Garrett. Like everyone said against Dallas, well, you can take Micah out of the game by running at Micah Parsons. And he's not a very good run defender. You get him on his heels, and you can take him out of the game. Well, you are not going to run at Myles Garrett. He is Nick Bosa and then some in terms of physicality. So the Niners are going to have to find a way to run to the other side of the formation more often than maybe they would like, because it's going to be, as David Lombardi told us yesterday on this show, 85% of the snaps, it'll be Garrett versus Trent Williams. So you like to run Trent's way because he's a Hall of Famer, but you got Myles Garrett over there. So do you bring the tight end to that side? Do you send Juszczyk that way in a fullback lead to try to double up on Myles Garrett? Do you run away from him? The chess match to me in Shanahan in the run game against the Schwartz, maybe the Schwartz be with you, and the defensive coaching of Cleveland, I'm with you, Mark. This game is not an automatic pushover. I'm going to be really looking at the matchup between Myles Garrett, Trent Williams, but also Shanahan versus Schwartz in the run game.
No doubt. And Kyle Shanahan is obviously brilliant at getting the ball to people in space, and that's what he's going to have to do here and do it quickly. I would predict that what we're going to see next week is another conversation. Oh, see, Brock's dink and dunk, and he didn't score 35 in this one, because my guess would be the 49ers win this like 24-3. That's probably what this thing is going to look like.
Could be 18-7 or something low.
11-10. I know you love those.
I love an 11-10.
Love those.
I wonder if this might be a scorigami, and I'll see if I can come up with a scorigami, which would
never happened before.
Correct, a score that's never happened before in the NFL. And I know that 11-10 happened already, but there's some weird scorigamis that are still out there.
How about 17-1?
That would be a scorigami.
There it is. I don't even need to look it up.
A couple of teams have actually scored 4 points in a game.
Of course.
I mean, not that many, though.
But not one. Hasn't happened yet.
No.
Not yet. This could be the
teams
week.
have scored every number between 2 and I think 75. Yeah.
I thought it was 73, but yeah, you might be right. Rich in Fremont is next up on Willie and Dibby. Hey, Rich.
What's up, man? How's it going, man? How y'all liking your new gig?
Oh, man.
Rich.
Yeah, the AC is on, Rich. That's all I care about. That's it. In fact, I had to come in here. Steiny comes in about, whatever it was, 2 hours ago. He's like, oh, you're going to love that thermostat in there, Mark. I go, you damn right I am. And I came right in and looked at it, and it was 74. I'm like, what are you doing, Steiny? Are you one of these people? He was worried earlier about, I tuned in and he's talking about hip replacement.
Oh, geez.
Right? Like, I'm like, my gosh, and you're just like my parents already, Steiny. Don't keep the house at 78 degrees. I knocked that thing down to 70 right away, Rich.
Oh, man. I just passed the Drunken Monk right now. The Drunken Monk restaurant in Palo Alto, I just passed it.
I love that place.
Yep. Good spot.
Yeah. It's interesting because tonight, Guru doesn't know, but he's going to that high school football game. I guess it's either his nephew or son. One of them is playing in the game. And that stadium is right down the street from my house. So I'm going to go over there and to surprise him. He is going to be shocked to see me because him and we go way back. But to your point, Mark Willard, I think that when I think of teams that scare me, yes, Philly, but I will say this much. Don't sleep on Seattle. Pun intended.
Yeah, I love the upticks. Pun intended. That was great.
I am sleeping on Seattle. Even though it was a good pun, I'm totally sleeping on Seattle. That team cannot hang with the San Francisco 49ers.
Well, they did last year in the playoffs. They hung.
They did?
For a half.
Okay.
I mean, that's hanging. They hung.
No, if everybody can only hang with you for a half, that's not good enough. I'm not scared of teams.
Thanksgiving night, that will be an interesting game, I think. Double short week
they're
at
all
Seattle.
Interesting, yeah.
Well, I know, Mark. You know what I'm saying, though.
But when we do that,
don't minimize my lexicon.
No, it's a short week. Right, for Seattle also.
I told you it was a double short week.
Yeah. So why is that? Who's that benefit?
This is actually a short week for the Niners only. Cleveland's coming off a bye. So if you want to talk about benefits, yes.
You were talking about Thanksgiving.
I was.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a double short week for sure. And that benefits the home team being at home.
I guess.
You don't have to travel.
I don't really think of this as a short week. The game was a few hours later than it normally is.
Right, but it's shorter than what Cleveland has because Cleveland didn't play football.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah. No, I've watched all the Seattle games this year, and obviously blown out at home. Thank you by the Rams, and they have a good win. They've got a very quality win. They're the only team to beat Detroit. They went in there and did it. Other than that, it's been two ho-hum whatever wins. Right? They were able to beat the Panthers. They were able to beat the New York Giants. Those two teams can't even think about moving the ball. Seattle's good. They're fine. They may well be a playoff team. They probably are a wild card as I look at it right now. They will be completely outclassed by the San Francisco 49ers. They do not have enough to stay in that kind of a conversation.
Yeah, good defense, but the offense I don't think can hang with what the Niners have been putting up with Brock Purdy and all the rest of it. Not elite defense, but a good defense, good solid defense.
What makes you say that? What game did they impress you with their defense?
I'm just looking at the overall numbers. They're fifth in the league against the rush. They've only allowed 350 yards over 4 games. That's good. That's 80. That's basically 85 a game.
They gave up 3 points to the Giants on a night where Daniel Jones couldn't even drop back to throw a ball. Other than that, they've given up at least 27 points in all of their games, including once at home to the Carolina Panthers and 30 to the Rams, when the Rams only had 7 at half. Unimpressed. I hear what you're saying based on the metrics.
If you're going to compare everybody to the Niners, then nobody's going to impress you.
No, I'm not comparing them to anyone. I'm looking at the fact that after week 3, they had given up 27 points or more in all of their games. That's not that good of a defense.
Yep.
The Panthers, Andy Dalton went up and down the field on this team.
Don't sleep on the ginger ninja. Okay?
I'm asleep. Don't sleep on this. Don't sleep on. No, I'm asleep. I'm asleep on the Ninja. I'm asleep on Carolina. I'm asleep on Seattle.
Yeah, Carolina, boy.
I'm asleep. I'm not impressed. I'm just not impressed. The Seahawks are good enough to make the playoffs potentially in the NFC. I do not think they are a threat to the 49ers at all.